Dirkens here. Thank you so much for joining me for my preview of the 2019 SEC Football Conference. If you're new here, welcome. Make yourself at home. Don't smoke in my house. Don't rub your feet on my furniture. And don't leave skid marks in my toilet or dribble on the floor around the toilet. You're welcome. Hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications. We are now 1 week from the first weekend of college football. Yes, 1 week from college football. We have Florida versus Miami. By the way, this is a live stream. Bowser Nation is on. A bunch of you is going to be saying May there to me. I'm going to try to do it while still trying to say hey May there to you while I go over the teams and everything. But thank you all for joining me. But we're 1 week away, and it's interesting that it's Miami and Florida. They're playing each other. Got them youngins that, they're just like right there around Disney World. When Mickey Mouse farts, I can smell them. That's Florida. Then you got Miami down there that when you walk into almost any given restroom, there's cocaine on mirrors laying around, or at least that's how Scarface portrayed it to me. Anyway, we have them playing right off the bat. Two former powers. I think one team's getting a little better than other. But we're here. So let's talk about the SEC. The SEC does not need me to talk about them at all. I mean, so many great teams in the past, so many great players. The run that Alabama has been on, I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. One of the reasons it's such a big deal that Clemson's beat them 2 out of the past 3 years is that they're Alabama, whether you love them or not. We could just sit here and name player after player who's played in the SEC. And I mean, I'm just scratching the surface here. I know some people's going to go, you didn't mention that player. I don't have the time. Good Lord, I'm trying to preview the conference, not just sit here and name out players from the SEC at the past. I mean, think about Bo Jackson, Joe Namath, Peyton Manning, Herschel Walker. I mean, and I know some people sitting there going, I can't believe you didn't name that one out. Still, I'm just doing a preview. I just named out a few players, but we could just, the list goes on. Championships, been dominated by championships. George is on here. I'll go ahead and say Tim Tebow for you. But they don't need me to talk about how relevant they've been. And at the end of the day, I don't believe that they are as tough as they were, say, probably 6-7 years ago. But at the end of the day, the SEC is still the toughest conference in college football. So let's go ahead and jump right into the teams. We're going to jump into the East first. The very first team that everybody's talking about, obviously, is Georgia, and with good reason. Georgia always recruits well, been recruiting well for almost 20 years. Who's who of running back has played for them. You could really say running back you for them. They're really, really talented. I think one of the things that I really, really don't get with Georgia is I feel like that maybe Georgia probably should have had a national championship or maybe two more since their championship, in 1980 with Herschel Walker. And listen, I'm not trash talking there. I'm being honest. I don't get it with the talent. I don't get it with the recruiting base. I don't get how you can go that long, almost 40 years without a national championship when you start naming out Todd Gurley and you start naming out Chubb and you start naming out Sonny Michel and you start talking about A.J. Green. I mean, you're talking about those players and I don't get it. But talking about right now this season, Georgia's definitely the front runner in the East. The East has not been as near as competitive as it could have been, say, probably 7 years ago when South Carolina, hate their guts, was playing better football. Probably Florida was playing better football about 7-8 years ago. More probably about 10 years ago, let's be honest with ourselves, 10-11 years ago. Tennessee used to be really relevant. They're rebuilding. They've been rebuilding, it feels like, for years. But Georgia is a front runner. Questions was with Fromm. Is Fromm going to be able to move around in the pocket? Will he choose to move around in the pocket, or is he going to join the National Federation of Professional Fishermen? I mean, come on, man. Play football. Do your thing. You got a lot of people counting on you. It is what it is. Georgia has a lot of talent. We know that they are lacking some depth at wide receiver. Okay, a lot of depth at wide receiver. But the truth is, Georgia has so much talent. I know they lost Hardman. I know they lost Baker. But listen to me, especially in the East, they have a great chance to give those guys experience and take over and do some good things. If you can give guys experience in your more difficult games towards the end of the season, guess what happens? You're going to get better ball out of them. You're going to get the better games. And you have a chance to actually do something. So, Georgia, I definitely agree you're going to be number one in the East. Florida. I'm not sold on Florida. Florida's one of those teams that if I was having to throw a $1,000 bet on, I'd be pissing blood. Because I like Dan Mullen. You have to look at the man. He's a genius to do what he did at Mississippi State. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. I don't care if you don't like him. I'm talking about coaching. Forget what you like, who you hate, who you love. Dan Mullen's a good football coach, all right? To go down there and do what he did at Mississippi State is very difficult. He has a second year under him. The thing is, he needs, and this is no slap at Felipe Franks. You can't, I know everybody's mad. Now, I know everybody's mad about, even in Gainesville, Florida, they've kind of thrown Felipe under the bus here and there. Listen, don't get mad at the state of Florida football because of administration decisions and who they've hired over the past like 3 or 4 hires, except for Urban Meyer. Don't get mad about that. Don't throw it on that kid. Put a block around his neck, toss him off into the ocean. Go find your administration who's hiring people that shouldn't be hired as your head coach. Y'all are Florida. You could hire better coaches. Really, it comes down to me is how will Felipe Franks do? Will they give him protection long enough to be able to throw the football? And when he's given time to throw the football, here's another thing that we forget. Will he actually make the throws and will the receivers catch the ball? That's a big deal. I know that's so simple. You're like, duh. Hey, that's football. If you can't throw the ball, have time to throw it, and then actually throw it to the right places and then make the catches and so on, that's really what it comes down to. This is a simple game. Too many times we get caught up in schemes, but at the end of the day, if you can give somebody the time to throw when they have it between here to know where to throw to, and the people on the receiving end receives the ball, you're in good shape. So I think they'll take second. And then from there, I just don't know. In the East, it's just like past Florida, it's like goes from not good to bad. I think tying for third is going to be Missouri and Tennessee. I picked Missouri to beat Tennessee at Tennessee late in the season. I know some of y'all that just absolutely kicked you in the pubes when I said that, but I believe Missouri, especially the first part of their season, they actually have a pretty easy schedule overall. Once again, goes back to what I said just a second ago. It gives you time and the players who doesn't have that much experience to get experience, to learn more of the playbook, to build chemistry, and guess what happens? They start playing better. So if you do that against the easier teams and the mediocre teams, it gets you in a place to where when you're playing the tougher teams, you had to play them early in the season. You had to play those tough teams early in the season, and everybody didn't really know what they were doing. There wasn't really that much gelling and so on. You get blown out. Here, you actually play against them and play them better, might even have a chance to win. South Carolina, forget South Carolina, I'll go back to Tennessee. Tennessee, rebuilding, Jimmy Pruitt, he has a background of coaching, he's a good coach, okay? He's been given a dumpster fire to work with. Once again, Tennessee, another school who I questioned their administration for the majority of their past hires. It doesn't make sense. It's not logical. I know Lane Kiffin, everybody's sitting there going, I can't believe how he did. Honestly, that was the last logical hire they had because at the time, listen to me, I'm talking about at the time. I'm not talking about now. It's easy to turn around and go, that was a bad decision. I mean, that's like sitting here going, we should have invested into Apple or Microsoft. Duh. But you can't now because at the time it was cheap and you could get into it. And now you'd have to basically sell a child and invest in one share. That's what I'm talking about. So if anybody starts tapping down there going, duh, what are you talking about? Lane Kiffin's an idiot. At the time they hired, that was a really good hire. So you don't know what you're talking about. Get off my page. Go jump off a cliff. At the time, that was a good hire. That was the last good hire they had. Jeremy Pruitt, the whole storm that happened last year, they ended up losing their AD because of it and all this bunch of stuff. And they ended up hiring Jeremy Pruitt. He was around the system. He's been around a lot of championship systems, a lot of winning systems. Here's what I'm going to say to you. I believe he very well could tie for third in the SEC, definitely. Definitely. I believe that with all my heart. So, those two will tie for third. Next up, it's just like saying, which turd is bigger? At the end of the day, it's just a turd. I think a tie for 5th/6th is going to have to go to Kentucky and the hated South Carolina Gamecocks. I threw up a little. Kentucky, they lost Snell. They lost some players that, that's not really what you would want to lose. You don't want to lose Benny Snell. Right? You don't want to. But at the end of the day, he's gone. What's that defensive player that played for them? He went in, first round or something like that, first 15 or something. Very talented young man. He's gone. Can't remember his name, but he was talented. Makes a lot more money than me and you put together times 14. Then you have South Carolina on the other hand. One minute you have Jake Bentley throwing like a machine. I mean, I was at South Carolina Clemson game, and I'll have to say it. I hate to say it. Whoever called the offensive plays, I don't know if they sold their soul to Satan. They did it. I mean, they had called a good game. Unfortunately, they were having to play against Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is a genius. But the other problem with it is then the other games, Jake Bentley does not look near what he does like he did against Clemson. He was focused. He could stay at focus every game. He would be a top 10 draft pick. Just how good he looked. But he's not. They've lost a lot. South Carolina's lost a lot. They have a transfer player in from us. Last transfer player they had no longer even with them. That came from us. It's not a shot towards a young man. That's just the truth. But really at this point, it's just like comparing turds. I think they tie for 5th. Very bottom of the East, Vanderbilt. Derek Mason, to do what he's done up there, they should create a statue of it and put it beside Bobby Johnson and what he did up there. James Franklin, that one season. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's just... trying to recruit there is ridiculous, and then they have absolutely no tradition. No tradition. Hey, come here to the Academia, School of Academia. Nobody wants to do that. So they finish at the bottom. All right, West. We'll go through the West. West is pretty easy. Okay, I'm going to go through the West real quick. Alabama, number 1, Tua Tagovailoa. He's got his brother there now. We know the talent that they have. The only thing that I see with Alabama, if there is even a possible upset to me, is not with LSU, it's with A&M. LSU, and I'll get to them in just a second. Well, I'll talk about LSU in just a second. Alabama, we know the talent. Judy, Waddle, Ruggs. I mean, they're just gifted. I mean, it is what it is. One of the biggest reasons that Clemson's so respected right now is 2 out of the past 3 years, Clemson's beat them. Just 7 months ago, roughly, Clemson beat them by 4 touchdowns. Media and SECers are still trying to figure out how that happened, and some is starting to forget that it wasn't even a year ago. It was just a little over half a year ago that Clemson beat their brains in. They didn't take advantage of them. They didn't sneak up on them. This was the biggest game of the year. But still, there's big respect for Alabama, and you have to respect them. Nick Saban on the sideline, he knows what he's doing. He can't keep a coach to save his life because they don't want to work for him. But he just knows who to hire and how to just pull it together enough with the talent he has to just absolutely bash everybody until he plays Clemson. So they'll finish first in the West. Second, here's the deal. A lot of people has LSU in second. I don't have LSU in the second. I'm going to tell you why. I know that everybody's going to say, well, that was last year, or the last coach. That was the last coach, man. Get over it. Last year, Alabama beat them 29-0. And last time I checked, that was at LSU. 29-0 is really bad. 14-0, not good, but kind of a battle. 21-0, 29-0, you're basically 30-0 at your home field with the top defense. Your offense is that bad. Well, Burrows, and this, that, and the other, and this. Let me go ahead and tell you this. And LSU fans, hey, listen, I'm more than happy to pull out the salt and pepper and sprinkle up some crow and eat it if LSU does good and overthrow Alabama. We're not afraid to face them again, but we'd be more than having to watch you overthrow them. You've had great offensive players for years, whether it's Orgeron, whether it's Miles. The truth is, who else do you need? Jesus Christ to come out there and lead you? I don't get it. I know you've got a bunch of excuses. I'm not taking shots at you. I'm just sorry. I can't put you at number 2. I'm going to put Texas A&M at number 2, and here's why. Here's why. Jimbo Fisher, whether you agree with his way of coaching, whether you agree with what went on at Florida State, whether there's suspiciousness, I think it's very suspicious to this day what went on at Florida State, what went on with Jameis Winston, what went on with, I mean, we're seeing now players he recruited is getting thrown off the team left and right that played at quarterback because they're, you know, if you are a woman, they'll just beat the crap out of you. And we see it left and right. Makes you wonder that if a different coach was coaching Jameis Winston, and I'm not singling out Winston, I'm just saying it is what it is, they'd have got rid of him. They'd said, you're not going to play here anymore, boy. You're not. Pull yourself together. It's enough throwing this ball around in the air. You need to go figure out some stuff for yourself. I'm not aiming at Jameis Winston. We just know the truth. Florida State fans are going to come out of the woodwork to take up for him. But Fisher did what he did. Fisher covered up for him. Fisher took care of him because he took care of him. He won him a national championship. Fisher can coach football, whether you like him or not. Whether you agree with his coaching style, agree with his ethics, Fisher can coach football. So I believe wholeheartedly that even though I like Ed Orgeron and I think the LSU has improved, I think you're having to go up against a Texas A&M team who has a brain for a coach. And if there's anybody who can give a run for their money with Nick Saban, in the long run, in the SEC, it's Jimbo Fisher. And I believe they'll go second. Kellen Mond's very talented. He's gifted. They've been recruiting very, very well. I actually did a preview on them. I'm having to look over my notes here. They have the talent. They have the abilities. Now on the defense, they're only returning 4 starters. I get that. But I'm telling you, they're playing Alabama in the middle of the season. They play LSU the very last game. I mean, aside from playing Clemson and maybe Auburn, we know how Auburn is. They can be extremely, what would you call, schizophrenic. One week they look good, next week they look like, you know, a pus blister. Really, past Clemson, you got Alabama in the middle of the season. So I believe Texas A&M can definitely play close with Bama and do very well. Finish second in the league. Third place, very close third place. LSU, I basically gave my cards away there. Here's the problem that I have with LSU. First of all, I like Ed Orgeron. They have the talent. They have the ability. They have Burrows. I know Burrows is probably one of the more capable quarterbacks they've had in a while. I know that people are excited about this, that, and the other. I know John Emery. There's this video going around with him in practice with this, they're calling him the Bayou Blur and all that much stuff. That's great. That's fine. I'm not taking away from that. The day that we take LSU, the only thing that could ruin what I just lined up is if LSU gets a really good offense. Let me rephrase that. Applies their really good offense. Applies their players. They use their players and apply really good offensive schemes to it. Somebody just said they think Coach O was just going to have an average season. That's a problem with LSU. Here's the thing with LSU, and I know everybody's going to come back to me, just like Georgia fans go, stop talking about that. That was a different coach. Yeah, what are you having problems with your quarterback again? He's fishing more than he's concerned with football. Oh, that sounds like something that happened on Mark Richt's watch. Anyway, I know a bunch of hate's about to start pouring in. That's fine. That's fine. Football season starts in a few weeks. You're going to look good. Truth is, LSU, the day that they get an offense, they can win the SEC. But when you turn around and you say just a few years ago, and I know it was a different coach, but come on. Come on. When you have Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. on the same field, and you still can't win. Come on. LSU is going to be a third. I think they'll fight. They'll do this, that, and the other, but it is what it is. Fourth place, Auburn. Auburn is one of those teams that no matter how many good players, you can bring Bo Jackson back in his prime, completely healthy, and they'd figure out a way to lose. They would. They would figure out a way to lose. Oh, we got Cam Newton playing for us. We got Bo Jackson. We still lost 3 games. It's the SEC. It's tough. If you have the right players, you can have tough games. That still doesn't mean you lose them. I believe Auburn goes fourth. Number 5 at this point, I think probably Mississippi State. They're okay. It is a big, big to do whatever it is. 6th and 7th place. We got Mississippi and Arkansas thumb wrestling for who's the worst in the SEC West. Overall, probably SEC. I think at the very end of the season, this is not me trying to take, that was reaching. Wasn't that the safe bet? No, it's just obvious. I'm not going out to go out on a limb for Georgia, because here's the reason I'm not going out on a limb for Georgia. No trash talk here, Georgia. This is just true. Clemson had, and I'm going to talk about Clemson here. Clemson had this term that was going on about 10 years ago, and I don't know if y'all remember that, 7, 8 years ago. Dabo Swinney lost his mind when somebody said Clemsoning, and he lost his mind. I understand he was taken up for his team, but let's go ahead and just stop here and let's be honest with ourselves. Clemson earned Clemsoning. This is the same team who one week went to Coral Gables. That's when Miami was still in Coral Gables playing football. They were ranked in the top 10. Clemson beat them, and the very next week Clemson went to Duke at Durham and lost on a last-second field goal. Clemson was notorious for that. They created, listen to me, Clemsoning. Georgia, I don't know how we would say this, if you're Georgia ring, ging, or what. I'm not trash talking you. You've recruited well for 20 years. You have the tradition. You have the fan support. You have a guy going into what, his 4th year. You've been to the national championship going on this season almost 2 years ago. You've got it. It is now up to you whether you win a national championship. It's up to you whether you, well, really, I'll take that national championship part back to you. That's a little harder. It's up to you whether you win the SEC. We saw what you did to SEC championship against Alabama. You blew it. You blew it. And Alabama fans are sitting here going, no, we come back and took it away. And then what happened against Clemson? Clemson dropped their drawers and emptied out everything they've ever ate on top of you. I'm not taking away from Clemson. I'm just saying Georgia, we saw the questionable calls. Georgia, we saw how you were just up and at it. Man, you were controlling that game. Alabama didn't know what hit them. Saban's ready to fire everybody. He's cussing out his mama. And you blew it. So, Georgia, I would love to sit here and say, you dethroned Alabama. But no. Alabama's going to win it again. Not because Alabama is easy to roll off the tongue or because it's easy. It's because Alabama has earned it. All right. Well, I believe Alabama wins the SEC championship. They go on to the college football playoff. If Georgia's upset, they get left out. Here's what I say to you. Beat Alabama. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. If you beat them, I'm sorry, it just is what it is. All right, well, here's the deal. Y'all be good to see a bunch of people on here. Mr. You Mad Bra, it's good to see you on here. Dog Bites on here. A bunch of you on here. Sam Ranger's on here. George is on here. Good to see y'all. Hit the subscribe button. Turn on the notifications. Notifications just notifies you of when I put up a video. So you can be sitting down there, sitting on the commode, pinching off one. And you're like, oh, Bobby Dirkens is coming on right now. Let me hit this button, sit here. And you're sitting there, sitting in the stall. People's getting scared. They hear you farting, going, and then they hear me screaming, May there. Y'all be good. Turn on notifications. Remember, I'm Bobby Dirkens. You keep showing up. Lord knows I'll keep showing out. Bobby Dirkens.